You can't stay at home with your kids because you need 1, 2, 3 salaries, and don't be a single parent in this country. There are millions of them feeling like failures because you can't keep up on a single salary. You can't go to parent-teacher conferences and do homework with your kids, make sure they stay out of trouble. Not in America if you're a single parent. And education is so uneven. No Child Left Behind is sucking the life out of our teachers. Our children are being tested to death, and college has become a dream. All of you here, many of you here in UCLA, you are here because you did everything that everyone asked you to do. You were like me, kids like me, and we all know millions of them. Did their homework, studied, prepared, got to the point where they were ready, got admitted, and looked at the cost of college and said, I can't do this. And for those of us who took the chance and made the investment, took out loans, we will find ourselves in 4 or 5 or 6 years so mired in debt that we have to give up the careers of our dreams. See, in America, you can't afford to be a teacher, a social worker, a nurse, because the cost of the degree is not covered by the salary that you'll earn. And Barack and I know this because we're 3 years outside of paying down our educational debt. See, we got those good degrees, and we didn't have trust funds. Nothing wrong with trust funds, but we didn't have one. I'm still waiting for Barack's trust fund. I was a little hopeful when I heard about that Dick Cheney relationship. I thought, well, maybe this is it. But alas, the only reason we are out of debt today is because Barack wrote 2 best-selling books, and that is not an outstanding financial plan, trust me. But we were lucky, and it shouldn't be based on luck because we did just what people asked us to do. They said, work hard, get your education, bring those skills and gifts back to your community. And with every job we took, we made less money. And there are millions of young couples out there like us doing exactly what we've asked them to do, but they are at a point where they can't even save for their own kids' college because they still haven't paid off their debt. And don't get sick in this country, not here. Americans are in debt not because they live frivolously, but because someone got sick. And even with insurance, the deductibles and premiums are so high that people are still putting medication treatments on credit cards, and they can't get out from under. I could go on and on and on, but this is how we're living, people. 2008. And things have gotten progressively worse throughout my lifetime, through Democratic, Republican administrations. It hasn't gotten better for regular folks. And what Barack says, that our greatest challenge is not that we are suffering from a deficit of resources. We're a wealthy nation. We are not suffering from a deficit of policies and plans because we know what we have to do. If you take education, there are thousands of outstanding public schools all over this country. We know what they look like. We know how much they cost. We know how they should be structured. See, the problem is, as Barack says, we have lost the will to ensure that all kids have access to those schools. Because what Barack says that we are suffering from, our greatest challenge is that we are suffering from a deficit of empathy. We have lost the understanding that in a democracy, we have a mutual obligation to one another. That we cannot measure our greatness in the society by the strongest and richest of us, but we have to measure our greatness by the least of these. That we have to compromise and sacrifice for one another in order to get things done. That is why I am here, because Barack Obama is the only person in this race who understands that. That before we can work on the problems, we have to fix our souls. Our souls are broken in this nation. We have lost our way. And it begins with inspiration. It begins with leadership that can make us look differently at ourselves and one another. That we cannot compromise and sacrifice for people that we don't care about, that we don't trust. If we can't see ourselves in one another, we will never make those sacrifices. So I am here right now because I am married to the only person in this race who has a chance of healing this nation. And I don't say that just because I'm married to him. I think he's cute. I like him. But I say that because I am a mother and a professional and a woman. I have all these hats and I care about change. And what counts in this race, in my view, is character. It is character. And as my father always said, you measure the character of an individual not by what they do when everybody is looking. I don't care what you did after you decided you wanted to be president. I want to know, what were you doing in the shadows when no one knew who you were? What kind of choices did you make in your life? And people, I am here because I know this man. And I know who he is. And I know what kind of choices that he's made over a lifetime. And they make him different. They make him special. And we won't see this again. See, this is a young man who grew up like regular folks. The product of a single parent household. His mother was 18-year-old white woman trying to raise a black kid in the 60s. Now, she had to be a dreamer. And she was a little bit naive, but because of that, sometimes they lived on food stamps. But Barack, because of her dreaming, got to see the world. See, because that little girl from Kansas had the nerve to think that she could travel the world and study women's issues in places like Indonesia. So Barack got to see the world in ways that most Americans do not. Imagine a president of the United States who looks at other countries with a level of respect and understanding without fear. Imagine a president of the United States who understands the impact that a great nation like ours can have to a small village near Kisumu in Africa, not because he's gotten a policy briefing, but because he has a grandmother who lives in that little village. Imagine a president of the United States who was raised like I was, with values, things like truth matters, honesty counts, that your word is your bond, you do what you say. See, we were raised to understand that when you're a working class kid out here, you don't feel entitled to anything. That you know you have to work harder, be tougher, be smarter, be quicker than anyone. You do it. And you treat other people with dignity and respect, even if you don't know them and you don't agree with them. And there is nothing more important in this world than your commitment to your family and your community. Imagine a president of the United States who will bring that kind of sensibility to the Oval Office. We haven't seen that in a long time.